Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Safer Dave Show, Arizona's cannabis legalization activist webcasting network. I'm Dave Wisniewski. I'm here tonight with a guest, Tom Dean. He is a nationally famous cannabis defense attorney. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank you, Dave. Good to be here.
So, what's going on here in Arizona? We're here to bring you the latest and greatest news in the cannabis activism movement. We have two campaigns going on right now. We have the Marijuana Policy Project, the MPP initiative, and they're here to regulate marijuana like alcohol. And we have the Arizonans for Mindful Regulation initiative. Both initiatives aim to change marijuana laws in some way. However, one law a lot of these activists feel is detrimental to the welfare of Arizona citizens, and another one we're saying is bringing real legalization to Arizonans everywhere. So Tom Dean, he's an attorney. He's been in the industry for a while defending these cases, and he's come across these statistics and putting out some information. He's got some very important breaking news that he wants to share with you guys. And what's your legal opinion on what's going on here with the cannabis initiatives going on here in Arizona?
Sure. We talked before a few days ago. We talked about some other aspects of the MPP's initiative that I am concerned about and that I think that people ought to know about. Primarily, this all arises out of the MPP's. On what I say when I say MPP, I refer to the MPP-sponsored initiative, the Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol initiative, sponsored by the MPP.
Right.
The MPP-sponsored initiative. We tried very hard, many activists in the community, to convince the MPP that it was important to defelonize certain lower level marijuana sales and marijuana cultivation offenses, because these are typically what cause nonviolent marijuana consumers to end up in prison.
Now, when he says defelonize, what he means is right now in Arizona, you're arrested every time you get caught with cannabis. It's a felony arrest for your first time, and then you go to court. Sometimes it's dropped to a misdemeanor, but under the books, every time you get caught with cannabis, it's a felony.
Yeah, let me. There's an important distinction to be made. Maricopa County is the only county that charges all first offense personal use cases as felonies. Prosecutors always have the discretion to choose to charge first offense marijuana possession cases instead as misdemeanors. In fact, they can charge second offense and third offense as misdemeanors if they want to. That's prosecutorial discretion. Every county in Arizona, other than Maricopa County, always charges first offenses as misdemeanors. Maricopa County is the only county that charges them as felonies right out the gate. Now, my personal opinion about that is because they're trying to move as many of these cases through the system as possible, and they know that if they charge people with felonies and they're facing a felony conviction and loss of all of their civil rights, right to vote, right to bear arms, right to serve on a jury, hold public
Devastating.
office, that they will be more amenable, shall we say, to entering into a plea agreement. Versus if they start out with a misdemeanor charge, hell, if they have a good defense, if they're innocent and they can provide a good defense, they're much more likely to do that if they're charged with a misdemeanor. If the worst consequence is a misdemeanor conviction.
So it seems like the felonies, they already kind of punk you into taking a plea.
That's right, because anything can happen in litigation. Nothing's ever for certain, and you can never guarantee the outcome of litigation. And when someone is at risk of being convicted with a felony, even if they're innocent, they're going to end up probably wanting to do some kind of a plea agreement in Maricopa County to avoid even the possibility of that felony conviction. And that we're talking about possession only cases. What I want to talk about here, though, is in possession cases even under the MPP's initiative, it will be legal to possess up to an ounce of marijuana. So they are legalizing possession of up to an ounce of marijuana. So I'm not here today really wanting to talk about or criticizing the MPP's initiative in as far as it legalizes personal possession. What I'd like to talk about, though, are other nonviolent marijuana-related offenses involving sales or production. By defelonizing, what I mean is we had asked the MPP to make low-level marijuana sales and cultivation offenses. We didn't ask them to legalize it, but we wanted them to make them misdemeanor offenses.
So it would be like alcohol, because a lot of people don't know, if you sell alcohol without a license, that's not legal, but it's not a felony arrest.
That's right. It's a Class 2 misdemeanor. I've put information out about that on social media with the statute numbers. It's a Class 2 misdemeanor, a low-level misdemeanor offense if you sell alcohol without a license. So if you're talking about regulating marijuana like alcohol, why aren't we making the sale of at least smaller amounts of marijuana a Class 2 misdemeanor?
Like alcohol.
Like alcohol. Now, the AZFMR initiative does that. That's one of the main reasons why I support the AZFMR initiative, Arizona for Mindful Regulation, above the MPP initiative, because I believe it's superior in that it does, for a mid-tier of marijuana sales and cultivation-related offenses, it defelonizes those offenses so that these people, while it's still a crime, are not subject to loss of all of their civil rights, are not subject to possible imprisonment in the Department of Corrections, and quite possibly mandatory imprisonment depending on the circumstances of the case, the given case. I believe that under the Marijuana Policy Project's sponsored initiative, we will see a dramatic increase in arrests and prosecutions for nonviolent marijuana sales and cultivation.
So that's
offenses.
important. You're saying, with your experience, your legal opinion, based off of the statistics you've seen, underneath the Marijuana Policy Projects regulate marijuana like alcohol, you expect to see an increase of arrests with the possession and sales.
That's right. Now, initially, that was just anecdotally. In my experience as a criminal defense lawyer who specializes in, or limits his practice, I guess I should say, to cannabis-related cases, my experience has been, since the Medical Marijuana Act has passed here in Maricopa County, that there has been a surge, an increase in marijuana-related prosecutions for sales and cultivation offenses. Now, the DPS publishes annually statistics pertaining to their arrests for all kinds of crimes, including marijuana-related offenses. They publish this, and it's available. And this is a link that I've shared every time I've ever provided these statistics. But it is available on the DPS website, which is at the azdps.gov website. You can see these statistics, annual reports. These numbers are taken. I verified my anecdotal opinion statistically with the DPS numbers. And I personally believe that those numbers may be underreported, so they're conservative anyhow. Now, I do want to thank an activist out there, and I won't say who it was because I don't have his permission to do that. But I had I guess you could say, a dyslexic moment. When I had published or written about this on Facebook, I had inadvertently switched the labels. I had the numbers related to arrests in Maricopa County for possession-only offenses, and then I had the numbers in Maricopa County pertaining to arrests for sales and production-related offenses. But I had switched those labels, and
so beforehand, it looked like the possession sales had increased.
It looked like they had increased, and because I mislabeled the two, and the sales and production-related offenses had a very modest decrease. I still felt that decrease was evidence of the failed Arizona Medical Marijuana Act, MPP's Medical Marijuana Act. But thanks to this activist who pointed out, hey, Tom, you had the labels switched. I went back and looked. He was right. Thank you for that. And now I can confidently say, based on the official government-reported statistics, that from 2009, the year that before the Medical Marijuana Act passed, the MPP's Medical Marijuana Act passed, and 2013, the most recent annual data available, that there has been a 20% increase in arrests for nonviolent marijuana sales and production related offenses.
That is devastating because those arrests, they come with a higher penalty, don't they?
That's right. Well, of course, they come oftentimes with mandatory prison, depending on the particular circumstances of the case. But they certainly come. They're all of them are prosecuted as felonies. Now, statewide, I'll say that the figure has essentially remained the same, with an actual statewide a 2% decrease. So let me just give you the numbers. In 2009, statewide, there were 1,608 people arrested for sales and cultivation-related offenses. In 2013, statewide, that number had only a 2% decrease to 1,580. Now, one would think that since there are legal licensed dispensaries now in 2013, plenty of them, 25,407 registered patients in Maricopa County, more than that, about double that statewide. You would think that with these legal avenues, you would not see people being arrested for sales or cultivation-related offenses. In Maricopa County, the number in 2009 arrested for sales and cultivation-related offenses was 753. In 2013, that number jumped to 915. I think in this year it's even come up more than that. But that's a 20% increase by my calculation. So there's clearly, it's beyond dispute, that since the Medical Marijuana Act passed, the MPP's Medical Marijuana Act passed in 2010, that we have seen a 20% percent increase in arrests for marijuana sales and cultivation related offenses. And those are just the facts. Anyone can look those up.
And so you suspect when the marijuana policy projects regulate like alcohol initiative passes, if it does, then that would follow that trend and continue.
Yeah. Here's why. I think that the reason that the AMMA has created this, has exacerbated this situation, is that number one, it's created an inadequate number of retail outlets, of licensed dispensaries.
It's going to top out at 160.
I'm talking about dispensaries.
Okay, so
under the Medical Marijuana Act, we have about 100 of them now.
Okay, right now there's 100 medical marijuana dispensaries.
That's right.
Okay.
I think the number right now should be about 130. We're expecting to have a new application process shortly, but right now it's around 100 dispensaries statewide. About half of those in Maricopa County. Okay, so number one, it artificially created an inadequate number of retail outlets for medical marijuana patients, and at the same time, it failed to decrease the penalties for sales and production, cultivation-related offenses. Now, what's going to happen if the MPP's initiative passes in 2016 is you're going to see no meaningful increase in the number of retail outlets for recreational sales, but you're going to see the patient population go from, in Maricopa County, 25,000, just over 25,000 in 2013 to several million adults over the age of 21 potential consumer base.
Right.
With only a slight increase, 150 to 160, I think it tops out at, which is in the MPP's initiative, forever tied to 10% of the licensed alcohol retail facilities. So that number is going to be like 150, 160. So basically not many more, are roughly the same number of retail outlets, but the consumer base goes to millions instead of just 25,000 in 2013.
And these cannabis consumers, they're going to be getting comfortable. They're going to be like, oh, look, we have a legal regulated market. And they're going to be coming out of the closet, exposing themselves.
That's right. And I think what we have to understand is that we live in a free society. That in the United States, we're the land of the free here, and when you take a substance and you make it legal, you make it free and legal for someone to use and possess it, then there's quite naturally, an increase in demand for that product and a laissez-faire, a more relaxed attitude toward that particular substance. In other words, marijuana isn't methamphetamine. Marijuana isn't heroin. It's a different substance. It's a safe substance. And so when you tell people, hey man, this substance is okay to possess and use for adults over 21, just like alcohol, and when you create an artificially limited, monopolized or oligarchy number of retail licenses that are going to have overpriced and lower quality product, then yes, naturally, human beings, it's human nature, individuals, entrepreneurially minded individuals like the Kennedys back in the Prohibition days, will rise up to meet that need, and even without a license. We know this is going to happen. So if we know that this is going to happen, and if the objective is to stop putting nonviolent marijuana offenders in prison, then why wouldn't we defelonize those offenses, at least a mid-tier of smaller level offenses? Why wouldn't we defelonize those so that we can prevent prison populations from spiking for nonviolent marijuana-related offenses?
It needs to happen, and what it's looking like is this marijuana policy project is going to expand the Arizona prison industrial complex.
And that's what, I guess that's really the point. The point is the marijuana policy project does not meaningfully reform the drug war or the prison industrial complex that feeds off of the drug war, as it pertains to cannabis-related offenses, And we talk about how there could be as many as maybe 160 retail outlets statewide, maybe half of those in Maricopa County, let's just say. But we're also not factoring in that local jurisdictions under the medical marijuana sponsored initiative can prohibit those establishments.
Right, so it could choke it even more. And we're comparing it to the Arizonans for Mindful Regulation Initiative, which allows for 1,600 of these outlets, and that's going to help meet the demand of the cannabis consumer, and that's why we're encouraging you guys to go to azfmr.com. Give them a campaign contribution, donation, volunteer, give us some paper, give us some toner. If you guys got an industrial printer, let us use it. We're out here collecting signatures to get real legalization on the 2016 election ballot. It's real important because we're not legalizing cannabis just so a few people can make some money and then the rest of us get to go to prison. We're legalizing cannabis to end cannabis prohibition, to stop people from going to prison. That's what this is all about, is stop the incarceration. I mean, we're sitting here in the United States, 5% of the world's population, 25% of the world's prison population, most of those people non-violent drug offenders, and the cannabis war is, what's at the base of a lot of these things. You know what I'm saying?
I do, and let me just say for the record, I have never been paid by the AZFMR organization. I am not a board member or even a member of AZFMR's initiative. I was asked by AZFMR to look into some of these statistics and to render these opinions. There's been a couple other opinions that I've made that have been, certain people who support the Marijuana Policy Project sponsored initiative don't like those opinions. But I've offered to provide the same service. I've done that at no cost. I've never charged any money to produce those opinions. And I've offered to the MPP or any other organization that if they want me to render an opinion about either initiative, I will do that in an objective way. And the only organization that has approached me so far and taken me up on that offer is the AZFMR. And I've done that. And they asked me to render opinions. If I agree with those opinions, then I have done so. And there's been a couple times where I've said, listen, guys, I don't think that the MPP initiative says this. I'll just give you an example. AZFMR asked me.
We just got a couple minutes left in this segment,
real
just
quick.
let you know.
They asked me, under the MPP initiative, tell me, Tom, what's your opinion? Could seeds be counted as plants? And I analyzed their initiative, and my answer to them was no. And to their credit, in their literature, in their comparison chart, they have been clear. They have not claimed that seeds could be counted as plants. And the reason for that is because I told them that my legal opinion is that they wouldn't be. So the AZFMR has been very ethical and true to respecting my legal opinion, and even where maybe they hope that I'd give a different opinion. So I don't pull any punches here. I give a real objective opinion. I'm just talking about facts, and I'll give those facts to either organization. All they got to do is ask me, tell me what you think your position is, and tell me what provisions in the initiative justify it, and I will render an opinion. And I'll do that at no cost, for free, as a service to the cannabis consuming community.
Well, we really appreciate your time here today, Tom. Just a quick recap, the Marijuana Policy Projects Initiative looks like it's going to be increasing arrests for sales and production, expanding the prison industrial complex, putting more people in jail for longer periods of time. And if you want to get real legalization, if you actually want to end cannabis prohibition, Arizonans for Mindful Regulation is the initiative to support. You can go ahead and support them at azfmr.com. Till next time, this was the Safer Dave Show at SaferArizona.com. Thank you.